We're going to create our first web application using Spring Boot. So we're going to follow these first steps. This whole entire video is based off of the video that is in the description below the like button. It's not my video, but it's from Edureka, and it's a 4-hour full course. This is just what I pull from it. So we need to follow these steps. First, we need to ask what is a controller, and what would we like to request on our URL, and then what we should be returning. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make a file. Since we are making a new web app, we're going to need our web dependencies. So in Eclipse, that's going to like File, New, and then we want to go into Other, and then Spring Boot Application. We want to title this whatever we want to title it. Mine is going to be Course Web App. And then we are going to want to just have our dependencies next. So we click Next from there. And in our dependencies, since we're making a web app, we want web dependencies. We'll type in web to the search bar, and we want to choose Spring Web Services, and Jersey. To make a simple web-based application, we are going to use a JSP file here. So in our project, which is what we have right here, Courses Web App, we're going to want to go to our SRC folder. We're going to right-click our main, and then we're going to want to make a new folder. We can just call this Web App. And then we're going to want to make a JSP file in it. Now there's two in here. This one, you could just make a new file like this. And this is if this JUnit test case doesn't pop up, because you're going to have to do courses.jsp. And then my Eclipse told me to download the actual kind of like plugin for this because it's an extra thing. So it's going to have you install that if you don't have it already. And then you can just delete that file. And then from here, we're going to go to our other, and then we're going to type in JSP. And then we can see our JSP file. We're going to click that. And then we are going to rename the file. We make it in here, click Finish, and that's going to give us this course.jsp if we call it course.jsp. And then it's going to give us all of this, except for this line right here. This line is just going to be left a white space line. Now, if we want to print something out, we could put something in here. So I'm going to put, this is the best place to watch drone videos because I like making and watching my drone videos. The JSP file is going to be what the user sees. So the language is Java, we have our context type, our page encoding, and then our HTML, head, metadata, we have our title, head, body, and so inside of our body is where we're going to want to write this, and then I'm assuming we close this off with our /html. Again, the JSP file is what the user sees. The model is how we are building the model. The controller is where we decide what request has to be sent and what the user response will be. The request is going to go to our controller, and the controller is going to call this file, which is our JSP file. So now that we have our JSP done, and we have our courses web application already made, we haven't changed anything inside of here. This should have been made with our file. We want to make our controller. So to do this, it's super easy. We just want to create a new class in our main package. So in the main package up here, we'll just go new, and then we're going to make a class. It's called coursecontroller.java for here, and it's going to look like this. We want to have a method to create an output. So we need our @controller, since this is a controller, it needs to be right here, otherwise we wouldn't have a controller. And we want to configure the @request mapping. So we want to pass in /courses when we go into our browser and we start searching. If we do this, it's going to be these courses method that's going to get pulled out of here. Now this request body, you don't have to pay attention to it. We'll come back and look at it later. Whenever we run something, we need a server. With Spring Boot, we do not need to configure this, as there's already an embedded Tomcat server, and it can be found in our Maven dependencies. So we'll right-click or we'll left-click the Maven dependencies, and then if we scroll all the way down, because it's in order, we have our Tomcat, and we can see it's 9.0.63.jar, and there could be a different version that you're running. And if there's a different version, you need to go to a website. It's going to be this one right here. It's going to be nvmrepository.com. So if you just look this up and you type in Jasper, you're going to get Tomcat Jasper. And then you need to click on whatever version that you have. I forgot exactly what it is, but we're going to say 9.0.63. And then we just need to copy this code. This is for our Maven dependencies. And this will be in the description below the like button. So once that's copied, we need to go to our pom.xml file. Because remember, that's what's going to be controlling everything. So scrolling down a little bit, we have our pom.xml, and then we're going to paste it inside of here. We are going to want to paste it after our last dependency, but before our first dependencies right here. So that's going to go inside of here, and that's going to tell it that we have it inside of now, and we can run this. Now we are going to want to configure our port. So we're going to go to applications.properties, and then we're going to want to go to server.port, and we're setting this equal to 8083. So that's going to be our server port that we are going to be running on. And so we have our course flow application. This is going to do the Spring application.run courses web application class. So that class is going to run. We have our controller right here, where it's going to print this out. And we have our course.jsp right here. So we're going to print out, this is computer engineering, and then we're also going to return our course.jsp. We have it in double quotes because that's just the file name. We're returning the file name whenever we have like a .jsp or a .text or something like that. So we are returning everything inside of here. So we can just run this. That's a terminate and run. And then I'm going to open my browser. Once that finishes executing, you can see that if we pull the console over, we'll have like a Tomcat, and we have our server and everything right there, and it's running on our port that we decided it to be. I decided it to be 8083. If you want to change the port, just like we've done previously, we can go into our src main resources and then click our applications.properties and just do server.port and then whatever you want it to be. So inside of here we have our local host, and then we have a colon 8083/courses. If we press enter, we have this is the best place to watch drone videos. Now this system.out.println is not going to print because it's a type string and we are returning a string like this. We can see that this is computer engineering has executed, and then we print out this is the best place to watch drone videos. Now this is because that if we look back at our course.jsp, we have our title right here. So this is the title that it's executing. If I'm to like refresh the page, it would execute it again, and it just prints out the body to the page. So that's what it would look like. Now inside of here, let's say we just wanted to print whatever we had inside of here. Well, we could just do a void, and then we don't want to return anything, so we could terminate and relaunch this. Now inside of our course controller, if we did not want to do the .jsp and we just wanted to return our course, we could do that also. So we would just take this out, and then we would need to go into our application properties, and we would need to do a few things. The first thing is that we would want to input our spring.mvc.view.prefix is equal to, and then we have slash, our folder name, and then another slash. Now for this, inside of our web application, we would want to make a new folder, and then we could just call it like web application underscores, and then we want to put our course.jsp inside of that new folder. And then we would have that folder name inside of here. So like if web app was a new folder, we would put web app inside of these slashes right here. And then we would also do the same thing for prefix or suffix. So instead of prefix, we will have suffix, and instead of having the folder name in here, all we would need to do is have the file type in here. So that would just simply be like .jsp, and then we could take out the slashes. It's just going to be in quotes. And that's just another way how we would do it, but this is how we would return our course.jsp, which is inside of here, which would be creating our first web application using Spring Boot. Now changing this back, we could take all of this out and going to course controller, and if we have this response body in here, so at response body, we have this imported right here. What's going to happen is that if we terminate and run this, it's not going to print out our course.jsp, which is inside of here. It's going to print out just course.jsp. So if we do at response body, it just prints the response body. It doesn't call the actual file. So if we want to just print whatever's inside of here, we would do at response body for the body response. And then if we wanted to actually call the file, we wouldn't have that in here. So taking our web right here, if we refresh it, we're just going to have course.jsp because of this response body. So that is what that does.